Okay, so you've seen the title, you've seen the thumbnail. Yes, I drew myself. It didn't actually take 6 days, it took 6 weeks because I've got a full-time job. So over 50 gig of footage later, and here we are. Firstly, a massive shout out to Slew. He is amazing. He's the one that I got the inspiration for this challenge from. He actually painted himself using oils. Check out his video. I will link that down in the description box. Although the challenge was from him, I actually completely adapted it to myself. So I wanted to challenge myself with the different hairstyles I could draw, the different makeup looks, the different lighting. So please like, please subscribe if you're new, and I will see you at day 1. Okay, so day 1, let's go. The last time I did a self-portrait drawing was the To Me challenge, and I'll link that on the screen. The first thing I did here was to pick a coloured background that I wanted to draw on. I'm using the Rowney pastel paper. All my materials will be linked below. I'm using the Tried SLEWs pencils, the Faber-Castell Polychromos pencils, the Prismacolors Premiere pencils, some pan pastels, a white pen, and a few markers. Everything is linked in the description box, so let's get started. For day 1, I chose this picture because I thought the angle would be hard to draw as well as the teeth. So normally I do my sketches on a separate bit of paper and then I transfer it over. With all my drawings, generally I start with the eye and then I put a layer of pan pastel on the skin as a base layer. I spray it with hairspray or other fixative, and then I draw over it in colour and pencils. Generally I use markers for the hair. So with each of the drawings, I'm going to give you an idea of how I felt about the drawing, the good, the bad, the total time it took to complete the drawing, and all the pencils and colours that I used for that piece. So for this piece, it was pretty simple doing the skin and the hair, but the teeth, as you can see, laugh with me guys, they just look so haggard and so hideous. I had to do a lot of firefighting to try to make them look okay, and I think in the end it did turn out okay. But it was a lot of struggling. I think in future I definitely need to practice this kind of angle and teeth as a whole. This drawing took nearly 8 hours in total, and it was mostly firefighting. I used a wide range of colours, so neutrals, which makes sense for like the skin tones. I did use a lot of reds, purples, blues for the skin as well as for the clothes. That yellow was for the top. For day 2, I chose this simple picture. I really love drawing makeup, so I wanted to practice that, but I also wanted to practice drawing the natural afro textured hair. So again, I started with a sketch on a separate bit of paper, and then I transferred this to my sketchbook. So I started with the eyes as usual, and I love drawing makeup, so I really enjoyed this stage of the piece. After the eye makeup was done, I then pan pasteled the skin. I went quite bold with my colours, using some greens and purples, and I really struggled with blending out the skin for this piece actually. I thought it had really sharp highlights which I wasn't really sure how to blend, but I think I got somewhere in the end. Please ignore the shine, it was to do with the harsh lighting, but in the end I really liked the way the hair for this piece came out. It was quite different to anything that I've drawn before, but I love that you can see the texture through the piece. Overall, I'm not that happy with this piece. I thought it would be a lot nicer than it ended up coming out as, but I'm not mad at it. This piece took 6 hours to complete. For day 3, I chose this picture because of the different expression. I really like this cheeky smile and this lip position. I really wanted to practice that. So my initial thoughts are the skin will be quite easy to do, but the proportions might be a bit harder. After struggling with the sketch, I was actually really happy with how it came out. I did my normal technique of drawing the eyes first using colour and pencils and trying to get the sharp highlights. For the skin, I used really neutral colours. I used some khaki green with the pan pastels, and then I did some layering with colour and pencils. Overall, this piece was really easy to do, surprisingly, for the skin, and I used some sharp greens and some purples, some blues, and the normal neutral sets that I use. Then I added the really sharp highlights, which I love doing. I really feel like the whites really bring the piece together. And surprisingly, I really enjoyed drawing the lips. I thought I would find it harder than I did, but it was a really nice challenge for me. And overall, I think the lips on this drawing are the best on this entire piece.
The hair again was really easy with a simple black as the base and then mimicking strands with the white colouring pencil. Overall, this piece took 5¼ hours.
Okay, for this piece I found myself gravitating more towards this blue for the main shadows. I did use some sharp green areas using some of these. I used the normal reds to add the warmth to the drawing and the normal set of neutrals.
Now for day 4, I always knew this would be my most challenging piece, and that's because of the lighting. The lighting's coming from behind, which brings a lot of shadows. I'm not used to drawing anything like this at all, and I also changed my technique for this drawing, which I'll talk about. I started with the sketch as usual and I transferred that, and the sketch was mostly fine because it's a relatively normal pose. For this piece, I chose the colours that I was thinking about using before. So normally I would have all my colours laid out in front of me and then I would pick each colour as I go. Now, what I did differently was that I started with the pan pastel skin layer. So for every piece I've done since I've started using pan pastels, I always started with the eyes. But for this piece, I just thought, let me try a different technique and see how it goes. I used really abstract colours for this skin, so you can see all the greens, the purples, the reds, and overall it was kind of looking very intimidating at this point. So even when I was working on the piece and adding all the colour pencil layers, I was still using very abstract colours. I was using a lot of blues, a lot of greens, a lot of purples, just to try to bring out the underlying colours that I could see. However, I found it so difficult to make the piece realistic. Before I was done with the skin, I had to attempt the eyes, and when I'd done the eyes, I just felt like the whole thing looked like a hot mess. I couldn't really get the rich browns back in the skin, and honestly, this piece was a struggle and a half. Again, I hadn't completed the skin when I decided to draw the base colours of the hair. In all, I think I managed to get something good back from the skin, but the entire process was a struggle. And I think it was also a bad quality picture because of the bad lighting. But in total, this piece took 6 hours.
Okay, so these are the colours I used. I mostly used a lot of greens, a lot of blues, a little bit of purples. As you can see, it's a completely different colour palette. I've also got a combination of reds just to bring out the warmth back with the greens, but overall I'm not really that happy with this colour palette, but I'm happy I tried the drawing, but I hated every second of it.
Now for day 5, I really went through a mental battle with this one. I chose this picture because of the relatively simple set of colours, but I knew the pose would be challenging for me because I've never drawn anything from that angle. Again, I picked the colours that I thought I would need for this piece, and of course I dipped back into my pencils later, but I just did this so I had an overall idea. I did the sketch and it was quite difficult, as I said, but the more I worked on this piece, the more I liked it. I went back to my normal technique of doing the eyes first, and then I did the pan pastel skin layer. I mostly found this piece okay to work on. I used this aqua blue, which I really enjoyed. However, I kind of struggled with it. It surprised me how much I struggled with drawing normal brown skin. Like the lighting and everything was fine, so I don't really know where that came from, but it was a lot of firefighting for me. At this point, the piece was finally starting to come together, and the more I drew it, the better I felt about it. The hair was really easy on this piece, and after I'd added the white highlights, it was finally starting to come together for me. Even drawing the top was a struggle, and honestly guys, like, I don't love drawing clothes or material, but I feel like it generally comes out okay. This piece took a little less than 6 hours to complete, and again, I think a lot of it was firefighting.
So these are the pencils for day 5. I've got some yellows, some pinks, a bit of green and some purples. and blues and the pink for the lips. I'm so glad this day is done because honestly it's been awful, but we move and let's move on to day 6 on the final day. Oh my god, oh my god.
And now we're finally on day 6. I chose my graduation picture for this piece because I thought the smile would be really difficult for me. I struggled with teeth from day 1, so I definitely wanted to have a go at practicing it again, but the makeup and the normal look was definitely right up my street, so I was excited to get on with this one. The sketch really wasn't that difficult for this one, and I transferred it, and again I chose colours that I thought I would use for the piece. It was a bit of a weird process, and I don't think I'm going to do that for future pieces. I think I'm just going to gravitate towards colours from different colour and pencil packs that I have and just choose the colours as and when I see fit. So I began with the eyes, and this is my favourite part of any drawing, especially drawings that have really nice eye makeup, if I say so myself. So I did a pan pastel base layer, and it was very simple in terms of the colours that I used, and going over it in colour and pencils to add the detail was a very pleasing experience. I love drawing black women with beautiful makeup, so it was only fitting that I found a reference picture of myself with similar. This was definitely the most enjoyable drawing for me to do. I really struggled with the teeth, but once again the drawing really felt like it was coming together after I put down the sharp white highlights. I did the graduation cap and the hair, and they were very simple to do, as you can imagine. I just love the way this drawing came out. This drawing took 5 hours to do.
Okay, so here are the pencils I used for this piece. Not as many as I've used for other pieces, but these are the neutrals, and then some of the browns / oranges, some of the purples, and that blue for the really dark tones, a little bit of green, and I used some greys for the teeth. I did include these 2 markers because I did use them for the shiny effect.
And that is it, guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. It was definitely a challenge. I'm not gonna say I enjoyed every minute of it because I really didn't, but I'm quite pleased with the results. So thanks for sticking around, thanks for watching the video, and let me know what you think down in the comment section. So please like, please subscribe, and I will see you on my next video. Goodbye.
She said, "Jay, cause me love you, but hey, say she want see me, can't see me, she going mad. And I say she want shoes, and I say she want let me hold you.